I'm Bae.
And I'm Morgan, and we are the Body Acceptance Babes.
This is the podcast where we talk about how to accept the body you have, let go of societal expectations to change the way you look, and to just be who you were born to be from the inside out.
You'll hear about how we embrace body neutrality, reject diet culture, and learn how you can too. Now on with the show.
Hey, Morgan.
Hey, Bae, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Did you ever hear from the school about the food issue we talked about last episode?
So actually, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but the school actually hasn't said anything. But I did bring it up with my therapist. And while I always expected her to have my back, I didn't expect her to be as appalled as she was about the whole policy. I expected her to say something like, everyone has their own journey and blah, blah, blah. But she was actually just like, they want you to do what? Are they allowed to do that? And she actually looked up the school board to see if it was an actual policy or if it was just something. And she goes, I don't see that it's a policy. And she goes, it's not for TDSB, which is a school board in our region. It's not for this school board either. So she, assumed that it was just just something that was said. So she basically said that if ever basically she said that I should feel empowered to pack my daughter's lunch any way I want to. I shouldn't feel anxious about it. It shouldn't trigger me, even though it does, but it shouldn't. And she said if ever the school says anything, that she has my back, that she would write a letter to the school explaining the harmfulness of it. She even said her suggestion on how to deal with what they probably are worried about with childhood obesity and whatever was, she goes, the school board should hire a dietitian or a nutritionist, and to literally explain to parents, essentially be like, this is how you can pack a lunch, but it should still be up to the parents what they pack. So it should just be here's some information to help you. And then that would be it. So so it so far so good. I've been packing her little mini chocolate chip muffins. I actually packed her one cookie the other Sunday night. So, and Monday she came back and had eaten it. So I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with what I'm doing. So
good.
So I'm glad, in my opinion, you shouldn't say anything to me. So nothing from the school is good news in my opinion. So
that's true. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, that's good.
Anything new?
I mean, I did some online shopping and it relates to the topic today where
today we're talking about body dysmorphia.
And I try this stuff on and you can't try it on in the store and this will affect you at the store too. Yeah. This is what I love about shopping at home. It's I can try something on one day and then try it on again the next day and feel it looks completely different. Cause I put this outfit on and it was literally yoga pants and a top because we were walking the dog. And I put it on the first day and I was like, oh, damn. I look fly. And then we went for a walk and I was strutting as I'm walking. And then the next day I was like, oh, I'm going to rewear this outfit because I really only wore it to walk and I'll wear it again for the same purpose. I put it on the next day and I was like, oh my gosh, my stomach looks huge. And it's the exact same outfit at the exact same time of day. And the second day
that is an incredible example of body dysmorphia.
and what I did was I put a coat on. Okay, granted it was a little chilly, so I probably didn't need the coat because I was totally sweating, but I was trying to hide because I felt like I looked so fat. Which I didn't feel the day before in the exact same outfit. It's crazy. But I don't know. I feel the best way for me to do it was to still wear the outfit, but I put the coat on because I was well, this is how I feel today. And I have to talk myself down from it, where I'm like, well, you know, like the body changes every day, and I ate different food today than I did yesterday. So like, you know, I could be bloated. Who knows? Like it could be anything. But to talk myself down from like, it's okay, don't change. Like you loved it yesterday. Like,
yeah. Well, and that's a perfect example of body dysmorphia. It's a perfect example of that like hyper focus on our bodies and it being so different the day before. And I've totally had those experiences too.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners can completely relate.
I know. So I guess we wanted to start off this topic. So your story segues into it perfectly. So I'm just going to start.
Okay.
But yeah, like we wanted to just start it off by defining body dysmorphia. Did you want to read the definition?
Sure. I literally Googled it, and this was the top definition. But then I read a few other ones, and so I didn't vet this website, but the definition was basically the same as all the other ones, just like worded a little differently. Yeah. And I liked how it specifically talked about which age groups are more affected by it. So this is the definition. Body dysmorphic disorder, or body dysmorphia, is a mental health condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about flaws in their appearance. These flaws are often unnoticeable to others. People of any age can have BDD, but it's most common in teenagers and young adults. It affects both men and women, and this is from nhs.uk.
Awesome. So yeah, that's a really, I think the key point here in this definition for me is also, I mean, I understand the age thing too, but it's that these flaws are often unnoticeable to others, or they're noticeable but but we think people are hyper focusing on them, but they're not, right? So we like, you know what I mean? Like it's
like if you're afraid to wear red lipstick because you're like, oh my gosh, it's so bold, and what are people going to think? They're going to see my red lips, and then nobody even notices.
No one even notices. So I often think of it, body dysmorphia, as like hyper focusing on like, it's almost like the details, right? Like instead of looking at the big picture. So it's like focusing on the smaller details, but hyper focusing on them to the point where, you know, and then not looking at the big picture, right? Like of how we look, like the whole thing put together, including the day, our mood, like our, you know what I mean? Like what, you know, what we ate that day, how we're feeling, you know, that kind of thing, right? So,
and I feel like for me, like I always thought I had a big stomach because I was always a kid growing up, and at the height of my disordered eating behavior, I would do 100 to 200 crunches every night because I was trying to specifically change my stomach.
Right.
And that's like the hyper focus is like,
yeah, it's like you're like, oh, my stomach, but it's like, you know, it's probably not, you know what I mean? It probably doesn't look to other people's eyes the way it looks to our own eyes in certain situations. And like, so for me, I know that it's body dysmorphia for me too when like you said in your story, it changes it can change day to day. So like I can put on an outfit, or I can look at myself in the mirror naked and be like, I look like this one day and I'm okay with it and whatever. And then it's like another day I go and I'm just like, oh, like I hate this outfit. Like, and it's exactly what you're saying. And it's like, your body did not change in that 24-hour period or 48 hours or whatever it is. Like it's your perception of your body that changed. So, and this happens, I think, to everyone, not just people in bigger bodies, not just, because I've had conversations with friends who aren't in bigger bodies, who are more straight sized, who have the exact same experience. So it can be anyone, right? And it doesn't have to just be weight related. It can be other flaws too.
That's literally what I was going to say. I was watching there's like all these old movie. I have all these like movie channels on my new cable package, and Mean Girls was on TV and on the weekend, so I watched it. And there's one scene where they all go in front of the mirror and they're like, "Oh, my hairline is so far back," or like, "Oh, my eyebrows are too wide set," or like, "Oh, I have these dimples that I don't like." It's so it can literally be anything on any size body that you're just hyper focused on.
And can we just say, don't do that. Don't do what they did in Mean Girls. Don't get in a group with people and, you know, misery loves company, you know, ratting on yourself. Because, like, that's not gonna be helpful at all. So,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's definitely can be everything. Like, I've come home from being out all day and noticed, like, a random hair on my face and being like, oh my God, everyone probably saw that hair, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, probably no one noticed it. Right.
Yeah.
And
or
it
like just
tweeze
got
it
there.
out. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, I remember being like, oh my goodness. And then, yeah, probably no one noticed it. But yeah, so it can be everything. But body dysmorphia can be pretty crippling to people. Like, I've literally tried on 20 different outfits before one event. Like, because I didn't like the way I looked. So
I'm pretty sure we were going to a party at your house. And I did that exact thing where I tried on everything. And I was like, no, this is awful. No, this is awful. No, this. And I was like, these are my friends. Nobody's going to care. But like, I was like, oh my gosh, these are so awful. Where are my Spanx? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it's funny now. But in the moment, I was freaking out and there was clothes all over the room. Like,
clothes thrown across my bed. And like, so I don't know. So I have spoken to my eating disorder therapist about this topic at great length. And so we can talk about tips later on too about how to overcome this and kind of things she's told me that I can share with our listeners and with you. And you know, hopefully that helps too. So
that'll be so valuable.
Yeah. And so I think like... so we've talked about a few examples of how we've each had with body dysmorphia. And then like so body dysmorphia can definitely impact like shopping for clothes, whether it's online and then like in your own house or whether it's at the store with friends. And sometimes shopping with friends can be good because they help, I would say, pull back on your body dysmorphia. Like they help give realistic, you know what I mean? But sometimes having friends can also not be helpful too. You know what I mean?
I think it depends on the friend and where they're at in their journey too.
Absolutely. And I also find sometimes I would go shopping with friends and compare my body to their body, which you shouldn't do, right? So, and that's not the friend's fault. That's right. So,
and the thing is too, be careful who you're shopping with because if you're shopping with someone who is if you're on a body acceptance journey and your friend isn't, and you go shopping with them and you're trying to be confident and wear like a pencil skirt with a tucked in shirt, and then your friend might be like, are you sure you want your stomach showing like that? And that triggers the body dysmorphia voice, or it shifts what you see in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, do I actually want to? And then you might hesitate on something because of that. And I feel like sales associates won't say stuff like that, but I feel like they're just trying to make a sale, so they're not a good objective opinion either.
Yeah, for sure. And not even them having to comment on you. If they make comments about their own body in front of you, then that can absolutely have the same effect too. So like if they're saying something like, oh my God, I hate the way my stomach looks in this shirt or whatever. Yeah. You're going to be like, well, how does my stomach look in this? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard sometimes, right? Like, and you want to support them on their journey and you want to be supported on your journey, but sometimes you can't get over your own stuff, right? So,
it can even be one of those not intentional comments where it's like, you have so much confidence to wear something like that. I could never have I'm just going to continue with the stomach. I could never have my stomach showing like that. And that just triggers, that can be triggering too, depending on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
because it's very like, because it's almost like you're like, wait, should I not have confidence? Should I not be wearing this? Like, it's almost like they're telling you that you're not allowed to wear it, right? Like, in a roundabout
or like, do I have this confidence?
yeah, that's true.
Will I have this confidence every time I put this on?
Yeah.
Can't I just wear this and be happy?
Do I need to have confidence to wear an article of clothing? Can I just wear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what about body dysmorphia and how it relates to our relationship with food?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, especially like with what we were talking about with, shopping. And if you are having a day where you're like, oh no, my stomach, then you might be like, well, I don't want to eat this because it's going to add to what I'm already seeing as a flaw.
What I'm already experiencing. And if you happen to go to the food court in the mall and your friend who says, oh, you're so confident for wearing that, also makes a comment like, you're so confident for eating that, then like that can be triggering too.
Oh,
with how it relates to body.
I hate when it's like, oh, I'm so jealous that you get to eat that. I'm being good. I'm trying to eat just lettuce. I don't know.
And you're like, you could eat this too.
You too can have this joy from this sandwich. Carbs are not your enemy.
Exactly. It's true though. It's true. Like, and you're like, okay, you don't need to be jealous. You know what I mean? Like, so
and everyone goes through their own, like, one day a friend might not be on a diet, and then the next day, if they're having a bad body dysmorphia day, it might trigger so much diety behavior just because they're like beating up on themselves.
And I feel like people throw out, like, they're like, this relates to me because I used to say this all the time for body dysmorphia. When you have body dysmorphia, you generally have it at any size, including when I was a size 2. When I was a size, and I can even say when I was a size 2 in the middle of my eating disorder, it was worse for me to like, my body dysmorphia was worse than it is now because I was so obsessed with it, right?
Yes, same.
So that's one thing I will say. You can have it at any size, but it's like, how can I say this? Like, in terms of food, we throw out like, oh, if I could just lose 10 pounds, then I would look beautiful or whatever. I would look great in this. But I would just want to point out that, like, when we start saying arbitrary numbers like that, like, we actually don't know when you do lose weight or gain weight, you don't know where it's going to come from and where it's going to go. And we assume like, oh, I have a big stomach. We'll use that example, right? Like, so it's all the weight that I lose is going to come from my stomach. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So that's something like, as a anti-diet culture comment that I felt like making, like, that's something that I wanted to point out, that, like, losing weight or losing a certain amount of weight or losing or doing whatever is not going to cure your body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
It's only going to make it worse, in my opinion, because you become because you can become frustrated when what you want to see is not what
exactly.
You see.
I have two little side stories about that.
Sure.
One is that in terms of like weight loss and body dysmorphia is that I carry my weight everywhere. And so like when I told people I lost 60 pounds, if you looked at like before and after, it didn't really look like 60 pounds because it came from everywhere instead of like 60 pounds off the stomach or whatever, because everyone carries their weight differently. And okay, I have 3 things to say. The next thing I wanted to say is that when I was also at the height of my disordered everything behavior, I remember being at the club and asking the girl I was at the club with, being like, which of these bodies do I look like? Because I didn't view myself. When I thought of myself and then I looked in the mirror, I didn't look in the mirror the way I did in my mind. And so I asked, like, which one of these bodies do I look like? And the person, I was like, that body? And she was like, no. And then I was like, that body? And she was like, no. And then the one she pointed out, I was like, oh, I am not that big. And like, I went like so extreme again from that. And it's not like because she was saying, like, it's just like her perspective, I guess. Oh, I lost my third thing. Anyway.
No, but let's pause on that for a second. Like, we all have different, like, first of all, the way I feel like I look at myself in the mirror is not how I see myself in my head either. Yeah. So I don't know what that's, I feel like a lot of us have that. Like, I don't know what that's from. I don't know if, we have how we experience ourselves in our body while we're in them. I don't know. Like, it's so interesting, right? Like, to feel differently. And I think that that's okay, that, and I mean, we're going to touch on this later when we talk about social media, but like, mirrors aren't you. It's a reflection of you that's actually like backwards, right? So like, and I don't know about you, but, I have a really good story, or an interesting story about mirrors and stuff. When I wear my contacts and I look at myself in the mirror, I look different than when I wear my glasses. Yeah. So like, my body in the mirror looks different. I look bigger to myself in the mirror when I wear my contacts. Whereas if I'm wearing glasses and I look at myself in the mirror, my body image in the mirror looks smaller. And I think it's because my glasses correct more of my vision than my contacts do. And so it's like, I'm not seeing, like, I don't know if you've ever done this because you wear glasses as well, but have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror without your glasses on where it's blurry? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I do that, I automatically look bigger because I think what's happening is the blur is going out more, just from our eyesight, like from my crappy eyesight. That's horrible. Like I just look like a big blur. Right. And then I put my glasses on and I'm like, oh, I don't look that bad. I look how kind of I thought I did. You know what I mean? So the reason why I'm bringing this all up is because it's all perception. Yeah. It's what we see and it's how our brain translates it, right? So I am the same person with the same body in those three situations, with my contacts, with my glasses, and with no eye help. Yeah. I'm the same person, but I look different in those three different situations.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and it's I think what we're getting at is what we're going to talk about later with social media and photos and Instagram. Is like the image we see in the mirror is not really us. Like, we are really us. We are who we are in our own bodies, not, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Because why would it be different in all those, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
that's exactly body dysmorphia, where like, you see something different, but you're the same body. Yeah. And so, and it's, and remembering that I look different in those three different situations actually really helps me overcome body dysmorphia, because it reminds myself that it's in my head, it's my eyes showing, and then my brain translates what my eyes see. That's not actually me. It's like an image of what my brain translates, right? So I think that's such an important part of the definition we shared, is that it's a mental condition.
Yes.
It's not... There's nothing wrong with your body, it's just how things are being translated. And I believe that it's diet culture and society that has shaped how our brain translates what we see, and like cultural expectations shaping what we should see.
Yep. A million thousand percent. It's diet culture that's ingrained in us with images that we see that aren't real, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about, and again, like we were talking about in a previous episode, no representation of bigger bodies, and like that's why we talk about representation as being so important, because it helps combat like the diet culture, right?
Yeah.
Conditioning. So we're constantly seeing photoshopped images in magazines and, you know, of tiny people, and we're basically, the message that we're getting is you're not worthy unless you look like this image.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true. So,
and especially as women, I was trying to think of like how far back, because like it feels like in the media, and maybe men would feel differently, but I feel like in the media it's been like going back to like cartoons like the Flintstones and the Simpsons, even like even in real life, like King of Queens, all of those shows have a fat man and a skinny woman, and like that's typically what is shown or was shown until like recently. But like it's like acceptable for the man to be larger, but it's not acceptable for the woman, and I feel like that also shapes what we see in the mirror and what we see in our minds.
Well, and I think men do struggle from body dysmorphia. I mean, I can't speak as I'm not male, or male presenting, or I don't have male characteristics. I'm trying to include everyone with every gender when I say this, but like I believe that the stereotype is more men should be big and strong and not scrawny, right? Like, and I used scrawny as a really negative word because that's probably what a lot of men think in their heads. But that's the stereotype that men want to be. They want to go to the gym and they want to like, you know what I mean? Bulk up and So that's why I think, even though the characters that we talked about aren't necessarily muscular, the fact that they are leaning towards bigger is a little bit more acceptable than if they were tiny, right? So,
well, I mean, on the flip side, and on the flip side, it's like if someone who's female presenting wants to go to the gym, they have to be careful not to bulk up. So like
exactly, and it's meanwhile, exactly. There's a lot of, you know, which is not necessarily what a woman's goal, you know, might be when they go to the gym. Like I don't go to the gym. I find it too triggering, but I don't have an issue if you want to go to the gym, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing it, if you're becoming obsessed with it to the point where it's an unhealthy behavior and it's leading towards eating disorder behavior, then no, obviously that's not a good thing. But if you love lifting weights and you find it fun, then go, like, lift weights, be strong, you know, enter in weightlifting competitions. Like, you know, I have a friend who does, what's that called? It's the latest craze right now with weightlifting.
CrossFit.
Yes, thank you, CrossFit. And she enters in, and her goal is not to be tiny. Her goal is to be really, really strong. And she enters in CrossFit competitions. And it's like, you know, it's very, I don't see an issue with that necessarily if that's your goal. But at the same time, it's like, if it becomes, like anything, if it's not in moderation and it becomes this obsessive, you know what I mean, thing that attributes to diet culture, then that's different. Right?
And I think that's going to impact your body dysmorphia, especially if you have expectations that you're going to start doing CrossFit, for example, and you're going to bulk up, but then you don't, then you're going to, then you're in your mind, because it's a mental disorder, you're going to think, well, what's wrong with me? I should be bigger. I should work out harder. And it just snowballs down this hill.
I remember when I went to the gym, I don't know how real these are, so I'm saying this with a grain of salt. I don't know how much I believe it, but I stood on this, you know, glorified scale that did a scan of my whole body, and supposedly it breaks down your muscle, your fat, your organ, like it basically breaks it down to help personal trainers tell you what you need, you know what I mean? And I remember when they scanned me, this is before all of my eating disorder stuff, they were like, oh, we don't normally see this, but you have the correct amount of muscle, air quotes, for your size. You just have too much fat. Normally when we see bodies, we see less muscle and too much fat, but you already they're like, like, and it was almost like puzzling to them. Like you, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not like I can't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I remember thinking, and that was one of the first times I remember thinking, well, maybe my body is just supposed to be this way because, you know what I mean? Like all bodies are different, right? So, and so I didn't like, they were like, wow, like, yeah, you have, so it was hard for them to, you know, at the time plan a fitness regime because what they normally do wasn't going to work for me. In, again, air quotes, because in their mind, all I had to do was lose weight and not.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just interesting. It's just interesting how, you know, that can come about. And I've always thought my legs were muscular. I've always thought I had muscular features.
Yeah.
Like I have bigger arms and I'm self-conscious about them, but like I think a lot of it is because it's muscle too. Like, so, right? Like I've always felt that way. So so it's kind of like, if this is how I am, this is how I am. Like, know.
Which is a good segue, I feel, into social media.
Yes, absolutely.
And society, where like if you're always seeing thin bodies, for example, with stick legs, and then you have muscular legs, for example, you're gonna think there's something wrong with you because what's always being represented to you is something that you're not. And that's where, like, we've talked about how representation of all bodies, because all bodies are different. And that's where, like, you can't have a standard plan at the gym because all bodies are different. And, like, if you have more muscles, cool. If you have less muscles, cool. Like, you know?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing either way. And social media, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but I think it's worth saying that, like, people put whatever they want on social media, meaning it's curated, right? So that means that it's not only is it not real, it's not real, and then it's also twisted to be made to be what you want seen and what you don't want seen left out, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's okay, because that's the way it is. But it's really worth noting when we're scrolling through social media that it's not everything, because it's lacking so much.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like, it's like you're seeing a lot of the happiest moments of everyone and the nicest images and you know what I mean? You're not seeing, but on the flip side, you're not going to post like, I remember someone criticizing me for being like, you only post like such happy moments. I'm like, well, would you like a picture of me crying in my bed? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I'm not going to post that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, you're going to post milestones and you're going to post happy moments, and you might post something difficult, but you're going to phrase it in a way that doesn't leave, you know, that doesn't offer desperation, right? Because no one's going to want to look at that. Like, it just don't. So it's interesting. Where I'm getting at is, like, I don't know, it's almost like none of it's real. So we need to try not to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but.
Well, recently I decided that on my Instagram, I'm just going to post on my @BayEwington Instagram. I'm only going to post photos that show different angles and like more realistic stuff to help people curate their feed to show them different angles.
That's
that
awesome.
Like, it's okay, because it's helping me get through my journey to see like, I took a picture, I was laying in bed, and if I positioned the phone like up by my eyes, my face looked a certain angle, and then I brought the phone down to like below my chin, and then obviously my face looked gigantic, and I posted both those photos in a carousel to show like, hey, same face, different angle kind of thing. But I do feel that, first, I mentioned this in another episode, that photos are not realistic, period. Like, nothing about a photograph is realistic. So if you want to post, dear listener, only photos that make you feel fabulous, do it. If you want to Photoshop your photos, do it. It's your feed. You can do whatever you want. Whatever makes you feel good, do it. Mm-hmm. But know that it's not, photos are not realistic. Social media is not realistic. And if you see a photo of yourself that's a bad angle, like half my wedding photos, I had like back fat because I had a strapless dress. And when I first saw those photos, I was like, oh my God, everybody saw this. This is awful, blah, 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 blah. But now that I'm more accepting of my body, I'm like, well, that's what happens. Also, because I got hyper focused on it, I started noticing, because I watch all these Hallmark movies, I started noticing even the skinny women in the Hallmark movies wearing wedding dresses that are strapless have back fat. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I have it and they have it. So it's actually normal.
Yeah, that's actually, well, you just took that one thing that you were hyper focusing on that was causing you body dysmorphia and you just turned it around.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I agree, like, I think what you mean by photos aren't real, and we've talked about this in another episode, is that it's a snapshot in time, but it's not a candid one. It's usually posed. It's usually like, okay, let me put the right angle. Okay, everyone pose and smile. And maybe you're not feeling happy that day. You know what I mean? Like it's essentially curated. It's very, you know what I mean? Like it's not a true representation of our existence in that moment, I guess, necessarily.
What I mean by photos aren't real is that there is no moment in your life where you are going to be sitting still. It's not going to happen. It's not, no matter whether it's a candid photo or a bad photo or a good photo or whatever kind of photo. Yeah, I do prefer candid photos because they feel more like they're capturing the moment. But I'm 100% behind this, is that there's nothing about a photograph that is realistic. Nothing. Because life is motion. Like,
yes, that's true.
And photos are static.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to stop, like when we're taking them, unless it's a candid photo that you don't really know someone's taking of you. If it's almost like if you're aware the photo's being taken, you're not going to accurately represent what's happening. And then, and you're going to have to pause what you're doing and then go back to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But, well, and I think it's important to say like everything, what in terms of Photoshop, like everything on social media, even when you take a photo from your phone and put it on Instagram or Facebook, it looks different because the pixels have been distorted. So
absolutely.
So it's a type of photoshopping. They're trying to make it like a smaller file, but like that distorts the image. So
yeah, I also feel like when I look at myself in the mirror and then I take a photo, it's rare that I feel the way I do in person when I look at the photo. Because then I start questioning my outfit choice. Oh, well, maybe this makes me look bigger than I want. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should change my outfit. Even though I look in the mirror and I'm like, this looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So
do we want to talk about some things we do to help with body dysmorphia and how we overcome it?
Yes.
Okay.
So my one tip is, even if you don't post them, take photos of yourself at all angles, because that will help you get comfortable seeing them and knowing that life is all angles and it's okay. Even if you don't want to post them, just to know that it's okay, to get yourself to a neutral point of like, oh, well, it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. So you don't have to like the photo even. You can just accept that it exists.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
because
continue.
I feel like it helps disrupt the pattern of what we may have grown up with, thinking that our bodies need to be a certain way, and then taking photos of yourself at all angles really helps you accept that and become more neutral with like, this is actual life, not, what I saw growing up or things that I know.
Yeah. No, that's a good point too. Yeah, my tips, I guess, which come from my therapist, so I'm not going to give myself credit for them, is literally like, okay, so if you're having difficulty, so for my body's dysmorphia, it usually comes a lot with trying on outfits. And my therapist basically, so I could go through, if I'm having a really bad body dysmorphia day, I could go through my whole closet and try on everything and hate everything. And then try something on 3 times and still hate it. And it can be really like self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It can be really self-deprecating. So what I was told to do, or what I do as ways to help, is set limits around that. So I will pick 3 outfits from my closet, for example, and try them on. And no matter what, I have to pick one of those 3. And I might even limit, like, okay, I'm picking 3 outfits. I'm only allowed to try each one on once. And the reason I do that is so that I limit myself from being obsessed. So I might even be like, okay, this is how I look in the mirror with this one. Go to the next one. It's almost like I don't need to stand there and stare at myself for 5 minutes, because then I'm going to pick apart everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, this is how this looks. Next one. And then I pick the one of those 3, no matter what, or whatever number you choose, no matter what. And honestly, like, it's almost like I don't spend a long time in front of the mirror. Like I go, yep, okay, this is good. And it's almost like, okay, get out of the way of the mirror, like move out of the way, because you're just going to start picking things apart. Like,
I think that's key too, because it's a mental condition.
Yeah.
When you see yourself is often, I feel, when it gets triggered.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, often once I pick the outfit and I don't spend hours in front of the mirror or minutes in front of the mirror, I actually feel better in it when I'm in it. And when I'm interacting with people and doing things at the event or whatever I dressed up for, I don't need to, because I'm not thinking about what I saw. I'm thinking about how I'm experiencing the clothes while being in them. Does that make sense?
That's what I was going to say, is like, I would suggest people take it one step further, where it's like, don't get dressed in front of the mirror if you know you're having a bad body dysmorphia day, and just don't let people take pictures of you, because then that'll be triggering. Yeah. And ask yourself how you're feeling in those clothes. And if I'm having a really, really bad body dysmorphia day, where I think it could be triggering for eating disorder behavior, I don't even look at the mirror. That's one thing. But I pick an outfit that I've worn multiple times and liked how I've looked in it multiple times. So, like, say, for example, I'm like, you have this, a lot of us have this one dress or this one pair of jeans we really like, or this one whatever, and just put on that comfortable, familiar thing. Mm-hmm. And then just be like, I'm going to wear this familiar thing. And because even though I don't feel that great about myself right now, I can have memories of having fun in this thing. Yeah. That I've chose, right? So it's like, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to wear this dress, and because I have some really great memories in it. And then you might not put it on in front of the mirror. And but so it's all about creating limitations that don't allow your obsessiveness to take over. Yeah. If that makes sense. And you're not, you might want to obsess, but you have to say to yourself, or at least I say to myself, it's better for my mental health that I don't do this. So I'm choosing my mental health over giving into my disorder, right? Yeah. Because body dysmorphia is a disorder. So I'm choosing my mental health over giving into my disorder. And ultimately, always remember, this is one of the things I wanted to end on too. People don't care. Like, people, you think people see a lot more than they actually do. Yeah. Like, does that make sense? It's like, people are thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their experience at the party, or whatever you're going to. They're thinking about, what they're going to drink, who they're going to talk. They're not thinking about, they don't give a crap about what you look like or what you're wearing. Yeah. They're focusing on themselves. Like, we're very obsessive, like, amongst ourselves, people in nature. Like, human nature is to be obsessed with ourselves, right? So when you think, oh, my stomach looks big and everyone's going to see it. No, they don't. They're not. They don't care. Like, and remember that if someone were to make a comment to you about something about your body, generally, it is a projection of their own thoughts and fears and disorders and whatever, and they may feel badly about themselves in some way, and they might be trying to drag you down or
Make
just remember
feel better by putting you down.
Exactly. And just remember that if someone were to make a comment, it's 100% about them, not about you.
I knew you were going to say that. I know you so well. I was like, oh, I know what she's going to say. I knew you were going to say that before you even opened your mouth. It's true, but it's 1,000% true. When people make comments about other people's bodies, it's because they're insecure with their own body.
100%.
So,
yeah.
So
it's true.
Like, I remember, I'm going to use Aunt Marge as an example.
Aunt Marge! Welcome back, Aunt Marge!
Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast, Aunt Marge. I remember being on a beach with Aunt Marge, and Aunt Marge saying, oh my goodness, look at all these people wearing bikinis when they shouldn't be wearing them, when their stomachs are too big, and, they shouldn't be wearing them. And Aunt Marge at the time, in this moment, I remember looking at Aunt Marge, who was wrapped up in a t-shirt over top of her full piece bathing suit with a wrap over around that, being like, oh my gosh, Aunt Marge, you are so self-conscious that you're trying to put down these other random strangers like you can't hear you to make yourself feel better, and you're criticizing them because you're too afraid to do what they're doing. And and I remember thinking, like, at the time, like, Aunt Marge, who cares? Like, who cares what they look like? Who cares? It's the beach. They're wearing a bathing suit. Like, who cares? Like,
I feel like I just had a breakthrough, even though, like, I harp on this all the time. I'm like, it's all about them, not about you. But I remember being in Vegas and having a huge body dysmorphia day where, like, I had this, like, skin tight dress that I was wearing to the club, and I didn't bring another dress because I traveled with a carry-on. And so I had to borrow Spanx from the friend I was there with, and they were, I guess, longer than my dress was at the back. And we had to walk from the hotel. I mean, we didn't have to walk, but we were being cheap. And so we walked from the hotel to the club. And I remember a complete stranger on the street saying something to her friend, being like, oh, if you have to wear a dress like that and your Spanx are showing out the back, then maybe you shouldn't be wearing a dress like that. Mm-hmm. And until this very moment, I always felt like self-conscious about that. And in this very moment, I was like, oh, that bitch probably just was super self-conscious on her own that she would never wear a dress like this because of whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, our podcast is helping us. It's helping me.
No, 1,000%. Like, she's making that comment because she feels insecure in some way about something about herself, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, and it's probably that she just doesn't feel comfortable wearing a dress like that. But and that's like fine. Wear what you want to wear, but don't be Aunt Marge. Like, don't put other people down for what they wear, because I think it's amazing to have representation of, like, we need to put that on a t-shirt. Don't be Aunt Marge.
Don't be Aunt Marge.
Yeah. Well, and like, I think what made Aunt Marge feel uncomfortable at the time, I remember, made me feel more comfortable to be myself in my own body, because I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, everyone's doing it. Yeah. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's wearing a bikini, so I'm going to rock it and not care, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, that's something
I want to use an office meeting term. I'd like to circle back to, to the tips in personal experience with body dysmorphia. We kind of touched on this, but I want to stress a little bit more that, like, when you're shopping, shop for outfits that you love, not outfits that you think you should be wearing, and try and stock,
or that you think you look good in.
And stock your closet with multiple outfits that you know make you happy regardless of what you look like, so that you have them to fall back on if you are ever in those days. Because I know I used to not have those in my closet because I only focused on, well, I have these leggings and like they make me feel really skinny and like I wear them with these kinds of shirts and like whatever. And like if you're having a day where you're feeling badly about your body, don't ever want to go to something skin tight. So like having options, like now I have so many options of outfits in my closet and like putting pieces together and trying stuff on a day where you do feel good and like wearing them on days where you do feel good so that you have these staples to fall back on. It's been such a huge game changer for me because I never used to have stuff like that in my closet.
For me, just jumping on that point, I actually, if I find an outfit I really love and feel really comfortable in, I buy it in multiple colors and multiple patterns. So for example, I've been living in this summer these shorts from Old Navy. I literally have probably 15 pairs of these shorts.
Wow.
And they're just in different colors and different patterns. And then I also paired with these Old Navy shorts, I have this tank top from Amazon. And I think I own about 6 or 7 of them in different colors. Most of them are in black because then they'll go with all the pattern shorts.
Yeah.
And it's what I feel comfortable in. And I also have that. I have a fall look too, which is essentially leggings and like an oversized sweater that's cut up high. So it gives a little bit of sexiness, but like I feel comfortable in those things. And I don't have to think about what I wear. Yeah. Like, I don't have to think about it because I'm essentially wearing the same thing every day. It's almost like I have my Morgan uniform. So, and then it's usually when I go out, that's when I wear something different, which is when my body dysmorphia can trigger. But having those items, like when I find the one look that I'm like, this is me, I do buy all the colors and all the things because it's like, why don't I want to feel that way every day, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to think about what I'm wearing. I don't think it's that important. And I have way more important things to worry about in my life than what clothes I'm going to pick out in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, and again, people aren't like, I think also having a child that goes to school really, really early has also helped me with body dysmorphia, to be honest with you, because I literally put on a bra underneath my pajamas, brush my hair, and then that's how I take her to school. And I have to get out of the car and walk her to the entrance into the schoolyard. But I've just at first I was like, everyone's going to judge me because I'm still in my pajamas. No one looked at me. Everyone is looking at their own kid walking away into the schoolyard and then focusing on getting back in the car and leaving. Yeah. No one is looking at you. Yeah. So that's really helped me to just not care, right?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had the guts to not wear a bra yet, but when wintertime comes and I can wear a coat over top of my pajamas, then that will probably happen.
Yeah. So. Amazing. I think that's been something that's like really helpful, remembering that no one's looking at you.
No one's looking at you.
Yeah.
And it's all you have to do if you're in a place with a lot of people, all you have to do is look around and you'll see no one's looking at you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's a good spot to end. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yes, I think this was a great topic. I'm so glad we got to do an episode on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just want to say, like, if you are suffering from body dysmorphia, you're not alone. And there are definitely lots of little things you can do in your day. Like, if you are maybe used to wearing the same thing every day and you do have an event coming up and you're trying something new, try it at home when you're alone. And then you'll catch yourself in the mirror throughout the day. That's something I harp on.
That's a really great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I encourage people on TikTok to do that all the time. And I just feel like when it comes to clothing, it's so easy to try it on at home. Because then you're alone and you're in your safe space. And that might help. But the other thing I want to say is it's trial and error. Because it's not going to go away overnight. So, like, trying these little tips, or I'm sure there's other people out there with other tips that can help. Yeah. You know, it's a process.
Or, if you're going away and you plan on wearing something spectacular out for dinner or whatever, bring that comfortable outfit too, just in case. In case you get there and you're like, I planned on wearing this, but I just don't feel it today. And that's okay to wear what you're comfortable in, because the goal, what's our goal with this podcast is to try to learn to be happy, right? To be happy with ourselves. And if we're going to wear something comfortable, that's going to make us happier than stressing over something. So when you're out for dinner in the moment, who cares what you look like? Let's just be happy. Let's just focus on that.
Yes. So. That's what life should be like. Just focus on your happiness.
Focus on your happiness. Focus on what makes you happy and feel good about yourself.
Yes.
And that's,
Life's too short to worry about the haters.
Did you make up that song?
Yeah, just now.
It's wonderful. Maybe next episode we'll get the next verse.
Yeah, I'll have to think about the next verse. But it's true.
It is true. Very
Life's
true.
way too short. You gotta focus on your happiness. You gotta.
Yep.
And like you said, like you can't, like, there's more important things to worry about. Like, just be happy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we will end this one today, and we will see you next week for the next episode.
See you in the next one.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Comment on social media to let us know what you think. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Body Acceptance Babes. Please join our Patreon for bonus content, behind-the-scenes access, and more.
If you or someone you love is struggling with an eating disorder or disordered eating behavior, you can get help in Canada from the National Eating Disorder Information Centre toll-free at 1-866-633-4220 or email nedic@uhn.ca. Or in the U.S., you can text or call the National Eating Disorder Association toll-free at 1-800-931-2237.